guys, today I will be making a video on hand history reviews. I will be going through random hand histories on 2+2 and just talking about the hands. So yeah, first of all we have an NL50 hand versus an aggro lag. He's running at 30-24, 3 bets, 5.5%. He calls opens from the small blind 11%. So I think based on this, hero opens from the cutoff and he calls from the big blind. So his range is going to be looking a lot like maybe ace queen, but he might re-raise that pre-flop. His 3 bet isn't that high, so I think he would flat that against the cutoff open. Ace jack, king queen, ace 10 perhaps, king jack perhaps, or maybe the suited versions. Maybe he has the middle stuff like 10-9 suited, the better suited connectors. I don't expect him to be defending that wide, and maybe pocket pairs ranging from pocket deuces to pocket tens. So on the flop, he small blind check raises. So question is, do we get it in on the flop, or do we just flat? And the answer is interesting. It really depends on how he plays. Firstly, is he re-raising with like pocket sevens to pocket jacks if he has that pre-flop? So this is the first question you must ask yourself. And 2, would he stack off on the flop with these hands if we re-raise? So if both of these conditions are met, then re-raising on the flop and getting it in is definitely the best option, because we will be significantly ahead of his range. So let's give him all sets. Assuming he stacks off with even pocket 5s as well, which has a draw, and 7s to jacks. We are actually crushing him big time, 65%. And if we want to add draws as well, let's say ace of diamond, 5 of diamond, ace of diamond, 7 of diamond, and we even give him a straight 5-7 diamond and 2 pair 6-4 diamond, which I don't think these 2 hands are really likely because they are quite low. Then we are still crushing him. 59% is quite a lot. Yeah, so I don't really think people are capable of raising the flop for thin value, and I think most players would never slow play pre-flop. Most regulars at NL50, so I don't expect him to have pocket kings and pocket aces here, which will check raise for thin value. So yeah, so I doubt these 2 conditions are true. So what do we think his check raising range is on the flop? So I would say sets, straights, although I doubt straights in his range, so let's remove it. 2 pair, I don't think he has 3-4 or 6-4. Maybe combo draws like ace of diamond, 5 of diamond, ace of diamond, 7 of diamond, ace of diamond, 2 of diamond, and maybe some random flush draws like king queen, king jack of diamonds, ace 10 of diamonds, ace 9 of diamonds. Let's just assume this is his range. So pocket 3s to pocket 6s. So you can see our equity against this range is only like 36%. So we cannot re-raise the flop for value because we are behind if he gets it in with this range of hands. However, we as the caller have enough pot odds to bluff catch. So to re-raise or to bet for value, we need to be ahead of his calling range 50% or more of the time. But when we are bluff catching, we need to look at our pot odds and compare it to our pot equity. So in this case, let's say on the flop, assuming that he check raises us with the range I have explained earlier, and he would never bet any turn or river. So you can see hero actually costs $6 to win a pot of 20.50. So if I take the calculator, we're actually getting 29% pot odds. So in this case, we can actually bluff catch him on the flop because we have 36% equity. So if we are comparing our risk reward ratio, risk meaning the pot odds and reward referring to our equity in this case, then I think it's pretty obvious that we can call here. But the thing now is that that's assuming he doesn't bet the turn and river. So if the pot odds and equity on the flop are pretty close, I might just fold right away. Especially if my equity is below 30%, I think it's a clear fold. So now, question, I think it's pretty clear that we cannot re-raise the flop for value, but we cannot fold because we're getting enough odds, so best place to call. So question on the turn now, let's analyze the turn spot. The turn is a 3 of club. So assuming he bets the turn with his entire flop raising range, our equity now is actually 49.32%. So we definitely cannot fold here, assuming he bets this with his entire range. And firstly, I don't think it's a fair assumption to assume he bets with his entire range on a turn. I think most people will give up flush draws quite often, especially on this bet turn card. And secondly, we are not even ahead 50% of the time. So of course you could argue that we're just shoving to protect on this blank turn, which may be okay. Overall, if we think he's barreling this turn very often and he has such a wide range, I guess villain's play might be okay. Because yeah, we may not be exactly going for value, but we want to take the pot down. And if we are getting it in against his combo draws, I don't think he's folding his combo draws, like ace of diamond, 5 of diamond. I don't think he's folding such a hand. Ace of diamond, 7 of diamond is probably calling it off as well, because it's getting like we can even calculate his pot odds. 30 divided by 108, 27% pot odds, so he probably would call off all those hands. So and this card is good because it reduces the combinations of pocket trees he could have. So I think overall I really like his play. I think I like his play, yeah. I wouldn't want to just call and let him see a river. I think this turn improves our equity against his entire range by a lot, so we can just ship and get it in and protect our hand. And all these people say bet shove on the flop, which is definitely not good in my opinion, unless we felt that he was check raising the flop with pocket jacks or pocket tens and stacking off on the flop. Then re-raising that would be good, because we want to get it in against and dominate those smaller pairs before any action killing card comes, like a diamond or a 5 or a 7 or a deuce. Okay, so let's move on to the next hand. Villain is this NL 10, so it's a 5 cent 10 cent table. Villain is 19, 15, 6, so I think it's pretty nitty. This is really nitty for a 6-handed game. 69% flop c-bet, not as high as some of the other regulars, but mine is like 66 to 70%, so I think it's pretty standard. Means it's kind of a balanced range. 77% turn c-bet means 3 out of 4 times he's barreling the turn, which is really high. Mine is I think 45 to 55%, so you can see he's getting out of line. Of course, the turn c-bet would be a function of the flop c-bet. obvious that on the turn his range would be pretty strong, so we would expect him to c-bet the turn as well really often because he just has a stronger range. But for someone with a standard flop c-bet range and such a wide turn c-bet range and wide river c-bet range over 900 hands, 900 hands isn't really a big sample, but I think oh, okay, but I forgot to mention one more thing. He's tight, so he would just have a stronger hand way more often than others. But still, 19, it's not as if it's like a VPIP 15 or below. He's 19, 15, so it's still not that tight. So I still think he's barrel bluffing really often. I feel I should fold this pre-flop. He's a 19-15. I'm not sure how wide he's opening from the cutoff. If he's opening at least 20% of hands from the cutoff, then I think this defense is okay. I don't like raising flop since I never hit flush draws, hence I fold pre. What do you think about this hand? Okay, so question is, should we check raise the flop or check call? In my opinion, we should check raise the flop. Against a player who isn't so aggressive, he would give up on the low cards on the turn, and we can then just bluff the river after check calling the flop. So we can float him out of position, and he would barrel the high cards, and we have two overcards, and he might barrel the queen and the jack. So we kind of have implied odds when we hit our pair. He will try to represent those hands. So I'll just, if I hit any queen or jack, I'll just call 3 streets. Especially with an even better Broadway, like let's say king queen of spades or ace 10 of spades, I would definitely take this check calling line because he would barrel all my outs. But against someone who barrels 77%, I think he's barreling most blank cards. So even any deuce, any 5, any 2, if he has an ace for the gut shot, he would just barrel. Maybe any 7, any 8, he might just barrel all the cards. So we definitely cannot check call 2 streets with this. If we had ace high, maybe we could check call because we also have some showdown value anyway with ace high. So I think we should just check raise and then probably barrel the turn and maybe shove the river. It really depends. I'm not sure how this guy plays, but I think we could fold out. Maybe we could even fold out overpair some of the time. But yeah, I'm not too sure how this guy plays. But definitely check raising to seize the initiative. We do not want to be playing a guessing game out of position. Just remember, the more often your opponent barrels the turn, the more often you should be willing to raise the flop, just to make them fold and freeze them up, instead of giving them the opportunity to barrel you off the hand. And this guy calls when he hit the second nut flush. Okay, but on the other hand, there's a pair on the board, so would we really get value by check raising this river? I think there needs to be some sort of dynamic. If not, it's going to be really thin. And he's kind of tight pre-flop, so he wouldn't have that many low suited connectors. So I think I kind of agree with this call. He's going to be pretty air heavy, and would he really call us with like pocket aces or like ace king here? I don't think so without any dynamic. So I think I agree with this call as played. But definitely I would just choose to raise the flop right away. 3-bet or 4 pre versus this guy. I don't really like it. I don't think he would fold ace queen pre-flop. He might even defend king queen or ace jack, which would mean we are getting ourselves dominated. Folding pre might even be an option, but as I've said, I don't know how wide he's opening. If he opens like 16 to 18% from the cutoff, then maybe I just fold right away, because we just get dominated so often. Because this is a hand I would fold against an under the gun raiser, and under the gun raisers typically have like 14 to 18% opening range. Okay, so yeah, that's all for that hand. Top pair, top kicker facing a river bet. Villain is aggro, good winning regular, playing 28-21. I have a solid image, not getting too out of line. Okay, so important thing to note is the starting position. So this button versus a small blind. Okay, this is a 1-2 hand at on game. Okay, right away. Let's talk about pre-flop first. I'm definitely calling ace 10 suited in the big blind versus most opponents. In the small blind, it's questionable. We are not closing the action. If big blind is aggressive, he would squeeze pretty often. So against an aggressive big blind, I would re-raise this hand pretty often just to prevent the big blind from squeezing. But I think calling is fine as well. I would call if big blind is more passive. On the flop, definitely I would consider check raising, as this guy mentioned. If the button is a wide opener, like maybe he opens 65% of buttons or more, he's going to have a lot of bad worst hands: king 10, queen 10, jack 10, 10 9, 10 7, 10 6, and maybe all the suited 10s if he's opening 70 to 80%. So I think right away on the flop we have so much value. So I can actually calculate the equity. We have ace of heart, 10 of hearts. Let's say he has. Let's assume this is the range of hands he would continue with if we check raise the flop. Let's not talk about the draws first, but overpass. Queen 10, jack 10, 10 8, 10 9, 10 7, 10 deuce. Okay, 10 4 suited, 10 5 suited, 10 6 suited. You can see we are slight favorite against this range of hands. So we are actually doing this for thin value and kind of to merge to widen our value check raising range, so we can check raise more draws here as well. If I do add some flush draws here, like ace of diamond, king of diamond, ace of diamond, queen of diamond, 10 of diamond, 9 of diamond, king of diamond, queen of diamond, king of diamond, jack of diamond, king of diamond, he can have way more flush draws than this actually. 5 of diamond, 6 of diamond, 6 of diamond, 7 of diamond, jack of diamond, 9 of diamond. Yeah, our equity will go up even more. Not by much, because I was giving him a lot of strong flush draws, but if I gave him worse flush draws, I think our equity would get pretty close to like 57 or 58%. So I think you can see here that value check raising the flop is definitely an option, especially against a leg who doesn't like to fold the flop with any piece. As played, I think the turn is a pretty clear call. Any black would barrel the turn with any flush draw, maybe stuff like jack 9, 7 9, and a bunch of other stuff. If he's really aggro, maybe ace 5, ace 3. The turn didn't bring a second flush draw, so I guess he doesn't have that many new draws, but I think more or less the board doesn't change and the river doesn't change. So I think on the river is purely based on firstly your image. Are you nitty or are you known to be a station? Because all the draws miss. So if you're station, people are less likely to bluff you here. Secondly is whether he barrels the river a lot. So it just boils down to his river barreling frequencies. If we look at our pot odds, we have to call 64. So we need to be good about 31% of the time here. So if I actually look at his value combos, So let's talk about sets. He has 2 2, 4 4, 10 10, 8 8. That's 12 combinations. Let's assume he only bets with this large sizing with busted draws or monsters. 10 8 suited, we have one combo because he could only have. Okay, he could actually have 10 8 offsuit as well, but let's just say he has 10 8 suited only. 10 8 of clubs, yeah. 10 8 of clubs, one combo. Let's say he bets like that with all over pairs, so there's 24 combos because each pair has 6 combinations. I can briefly explain this. So why does each pair have 6 combinations? We have like ace club, ace diamond, ace club, ace spade, ace club, ace heart, ace diamond, ace heart, ace diamond, ace spade, ace heart, ace spade. Yeah, so you can see each pair has 6 combinations. You can arrange them in 6 different ways. So we are mostly looking at 37 combinations. So remember, we are getting 31% pot odds, so we need to be good 31% of the time. So this means his value range must be 69% of the time. So 37 divided by 69 times 31. We need him to bluff about 17 combos for us to make a hero call here. So how many draws can he have? As in, assuming he's opening from the button, he can already have I think 9. There are 13 suits in the deck. 4 are out, so 9 left. Yeah, 9 ace high flush draws, and he can have so many king and queen high flush draws as well, like king queen, king jack. Maybe a leg would open king 3 suited, king 4 suited, so he could easily have another 10 to 15 combos of draws. And added, we can talk about like straight draws like jack 9, 7 9. So in terms of combos, if he's bluffing all those with 100% frequency, we can definitely find a call here, no problem. There's no limit, it's hard to make a hand. But if so, I would assume the total combinations would at least be 30 plus. But let's say he only bluffs with all these combos half the time, then we are probably going to get close to a break-even call. If he bluffs all this on the river, let's say only 1/3 of the time, then I think it's a fold here because we are not good often enough. So I can't really say what's the answer without knowing more about this opponent. I super insta turbo call this river versus myself and most racks. I mean, it just really depends on barreling frequency. So river is a snap call. It just really depends on whether he's the type to 2-barrel or 3-barrel. So yeah, base your calling decision based on opponent's tendencies. Okay, ace king offsuit versus a 4-bet on NL10. Under the gun has 997. No read on opponent, he's new to the table. I think firstly we can assume he's not really nutted. I think pocket aces would probably not raise to this size. This size looks like pocket jacks, pocket queens, or ace king. Pocket aces and pocket kings tend to raise to like $3. Make a min raise because their hand is quite invulnerable on most flops. So given that he makes this sizing and ace king is good enough against what I assume his range is, which is not aces and not kings, I would just get it in because of we will not be ahead of his range, but there's so much dead money in the pot. 35 plus 30 plus 160, so we are getting enough odds to stack off here. So I think I would stack off, but I can't be sure. So let's do maybe another 1 or 2 more hands and we'll wrap the video up. Firstly, on the flop, right away check calling comes to mind, but I think we can actually value bet this flop for sure. This VPIP 5017 guy is going to have so many worse jacks. He's going to be calling the flop most of the time with like pocket tens and any other pocket pair below a jack. He's calling with so many gut shots like ace 10, ace queen, queen 10, 10 9, queen 9, queen 10. So many flush draws. He is just playing so many suited garbage hands. So yes, I think actually we can just value bet the flop right away. This turn is pretty terrible. I do not know why this villain bets this turn. Now queen 10 beats us, ace queen beats us, ace 10 beats us, 10 9 beats us, queen 9 beats us. So question is, should we check call or check fold? In my opinion, we should just check for this turn. This turn is really bad for us. And his aggression factor is quite low. And we can just look at his street by street aggression. If he has a low aggression on earlier streets, but he likes to bet on the river, then I would just check out the river to catch all his busted draws. But I think in general, I would probably just check for this turn. This guy bets the turn and chooses to check call the river. It's pretty terrible of a play. He doesn't really know what he's trying to achieve. This turn bet is definitely not going to be for value, because this villain is never calling here with pocket 9s or pocket 8s another time, although he might call the flush draw again. But in terms of his entire range, he has way more queens, or he has way more cards that are improved by the queen, so our equity drops drastically on this turn. Yeah, check for the turn and you could check call the river. Yes, I agree with that. Hero squeezes to 54 cents. He might want to make it a bit bigger, maybe 60 cents, but I think it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. This spot is really tricky. You flop so good? I don't think so. Let's talk about villains range first. Pocket 10s, I think pocket jacks would 4-bet pre-flop. So pocket 10s, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, ace queen, maybe king queen. Yeah, that's about it. So right away we could consider value betting, or we could just check call the flop once or twice. I think I would like check calling more. I really like to take more passive lines with marginal hands at lower stakes, because opponents are not likely to put me in tough spots and they are likely to play straightforward on the river. So I think I will check out the flop and the turn. He might step twice with king queen or ace queen. So yeah, I can afford to bluff catch him twice. We are losing to ace jack, and he doesn't really have pocket jacks. We block pocket 10, so I think this flop is actually pretty good for us. Question is, would he call pocket 9s, pocket 8s if we bet here? It really depends. Some players just think no ace, no king, and their pocket pair is good. But in terms of equity, ace king actually has like 40% equity against pocket 9s here. So pocket 9s should actually be folding this flop. So I think checking to call and betting are both options. It just depends on how the player reacts. We have an interesting note here. Post flop won't fold medium strength hands, bets when checked to a lot. I think based on this alone, I would choose to check call the flop. Okay, let's look at some higher limit hands. This is a readless hand, so let's look at another hand. This is a four-handed game. stacks are weird. Yeah, they have 125 big blinds each. Yeah, it's four-handed. Button cut off. Hand history seems pretty weird. Why isn't there a small blind? Okay, his sizing might want to be increased to maybe 11 because of their stack depth. %, 4 to C bet, so I think this guy's going to be calling here almost always. He might even float with ace queen high if he views hero as aggressive. Without the ace or spade or king or spade, I'm definitely giving up on this flop. But with it, I'm going to barrel with the intention of firing turn and maybe even the river. This turn is really bad, as in we do pick up a flush draw, but it coordinates the board to some extent. He could have like 9-8 or maybe 5-7 somehow, but not all that likely. It really depends. Maybe some flush draws as well. I think I would like to bet the turn and shove the river, especially if we think villain raises his sets on the flop quite often. Although this is a 3-bet pot, so it's not so easy. I don't expect to fall out 10-10 or better, but to figure he with enough floats and we have equity. I think we could just bet turn and shove the river. Even pocket 10s would be a pure bluff catcher because we just have so many overpairs there. So I think that's the best line to take, and I would size it larger. We have put 12 plus 10, so we invested 22, we have about 100 left. So I would bet maybe 25 here. So the pot has 45 plus 50, 95. So we will have like 75 on the river. Or maybe you could just bet 20, I don't mind. Just size it up such that the river bet will be very strong. If you bet 20 here, we'll be left with 80 on the river, and the pot would have 84.5. So we would make a pot size bet on the river, and pocket 10s will be put in a very tough spot. So I think I would prefer this line here. And it's true that people don't really check raise this turn with an overpair, so they'll probably put you on ace or spade quite often. It really depends. Hero, okay, MP was 43 over 30 hands, so I'm definitely ISO raising with queen 7. Any two cards above 8 or maybe even 7, I might just raise it. Definitely from the button, I'm ISO raising with a wide range. MP is 60 big blinds, but he makes it 3. I don't really like it, at least 4 or 5. I'll probably make it 4 against him. I want to isolate him. But anyway, the button calls. Big blind calls, MP calls, so it's a 4-way pot. Yeah, this guy agrees with me, it should be bigger. I agree that it's definitely a value bet on the flop. The fishers might not even fold their gut shots, and they're going to have so many flush draws. But if it was a 4-way pot with racks, I don't think there's that much value betting the flop. So, given that there are two fishers in the pot, I would bet the flop and check behind on the turn, or maybe make a small value bet. Yeah. Top pair good kicker in 4-bet pot versus squeeze. Hero has 129 big blinds. Button has 96. I don't really like his sizing here. As in, it could be 25. I mean, I guess if he thinks he has full equity, it's fine, but maybe 25 is fine. 10% squeeze overall. Just fold to the 3-bet, his squeeze percentage is a bit above average. I am definitely disagreeing with this. I think we should 4-bet bluff here for sure. On the flop, I agree that we should bet about maybe $20 in this spot, 40% of the pot. And unless there was any dynamic of him like playing ace jack in this manner, or maybe pocket queens, I don't really think we can fold here. So I bet this, and yeah, even checking to induce is also an option, because how much value can we possibly get? This is also a board we are giving up pretty often on. I don't think we should be bluff-C betting such boards that often if he's defending middle connectors. But Jack 8-4 isn't that bad. If it was like Queen 10 8, then I would give up for sure. But I mean, we would have an open ender, so that's different. But assuming we have like Ace King on Queen 10 8 board, I would just check fold right away, because it just hits his range so hard. He's gonna have a lot of broadways and middle cards. But yeah, I think betting and checking are both fine. I think I would just bet, yeah, as my default, because I'll be bluffing pretty often. Yeah. Let's look at one more NR200 hand and we'll wrap it up. Okay, it's a three-way hand, but the big blind folds. We flop a set. We bet and we get led into. I think we just have to call, given the odds. I believe he might have random busted flush draws enough of the time. This sizing may look like a 5 actually. I bet if check 2. I don't agree with this. I think villain has way too many 9x hands, like 10-9, Jack 9 and stuff like that. So definitely not betting on this river. This looks like a miss. It doesn't really look like a miss draw. It looks like 10 better bet. I agree with this. It looks like a 5 pretty often, but this agreed villain is block betting, thin value betting 10x. This is definitely true. It's not betting 10x. Even 2 pair. I can't be sure about 2 pair. It's possible. He could be block betting 2 pair. Occasionally bluffing a flush draw. We are getting 20% pot odds. 40 divided by 200 is 20%. So while I believe we are going to be losing really often, I think we should be good 20+% of the time. So I would just call and take a note on his play. I think people are undervaluing the value of information, and if we fold our set here and it happens that he has some busted hand, then we are really making a major mistake. Whereas if we just call and we lose another 40, we are making a small mistake and we do get information anyway. So I think this is snap call. Yeah. Pretty easy fold here. As in, he isn't leveling you. I definitely agree with all these comments. We are beat. We may not even be good 20% of the time, maybe 10 or 15, but I do think we have to call. There are 2 busted flush draws, and sure, he's a 19-14, looks pretty straightforward, but can we really be that sure? He doesn't really know this player that well. If they've played thousands of hands and he knows that he's really straightforward, doesn't bluff in such spots, then he could make a hero fold, but I don't really think he can make a hero fold. And we are definitely beat here really, really often. I think this looks the most like a 5, and occasionally a 9. But we might be surprised to see like 10-8 or some other hands, so not folding. Okay, so I think that's all for this video, so good luck, and yeah, hope you guys learned something. So this is Galvin making another video for my YouTube channel, so check the other videos out if you're interested, and maybe even my book if you do enjoy my type of analysis. So yeah, good luck at the tables and see you next time.